Between two great rivers in the cradle where human civilization first awakened, there lies a land whose very name whispers of beginnings. Mesopotamia, the land between the rivers, where the Tigris and Euphrates have flowed since time immemorial, carrying with them the stories of humanity's first cities, first laws, first written words. Here, in this fertile crescent of ancient dreams, beneath endless azure skies that have watched over farmers and kings for 6,000 years, the first chapter of recorded human history was written in clay tablets that still speak to us across the vast gulf of time. Long before the pyramids rose from Egyptian sands, before Greek philosophers walked marble halls, before Roman legions marched across Europe, the people of Mesopotamia were building cities, creating laws, and pondering the mysteries of existence in ways that would echo through all of human history. This is the story of the very first civilization, of people who learned to tame rivers and build cities, who invented writing and established justice, who looked up at the stars and saw patterns that revealed the will of the gods, who created myths and legends that still capture our imagination today. From the earliest Sumerian city-states around 3500 BCE, when writing was first scratched into wet clay and cities first rose from the marshy plains, to the fall of Babylon in 539 BCE, when Persian armies crossed the Euphrates and absorbed this ancient land into their vast empire. Nearly 3,000 years of human achievement, innovation, and dreams unfold along these two sacred rivers. Here, kings first claimed divine authority, priests first studied the movements of celestial bodies, merchants first developed complex trade networks that spanned continents. Here, the Epic of Gilgamesh was composed, humanity's first great work of literature, exploring themes of friendship, mortality, and the search for meaning that still resonate in the human heart. Here, Hammurabi carved his code of laws, establishing principles of justice that would influence legal systems for millennia. Let us drift now along these ancient waterways, like merchants on reed boats carrying precious cargo, like pilgrims traveling to sacred temples, like the gentle evening breeze that has cooled these lands since the world was young, carrying with it the whispered prayers and dreams of countless generations. Close your eyes and feel the warm desert wind. Hear the distant splash of water against riverbanks, the soft murmur of voices from reed houses along the shore, the gentle lowing of cattle returning home at sunset. These sounds have echoed along the Tigris and Euphrates for 60 centuries, connecting us to the very dawn of civilization. Our journey begins where all Mesopotamian stories must begin, with the rivers that gave this land its life, its character, and its destiny. Two great streams flowing from the mountains of the north, carrying with them the gifts that would make civilization possible. In the beginning, there were the waters. Long before human eyes gazed upon these fertile plains, long before the first farmer learned to channel the floods into irrigation canals, the Tigris and Euphrates carved their eternal paths through the landscape of what would become Iraq. The Tigris, swift and powerful, rushing down from the Armenian highlands with a current that could carry boats swiftly downstream, but made upstream travel challenging. Its very name meant arrow in the ancient tongues, reflecting its rapid, direct course toward the Persian Gulf. The Euphrates, broader and more gentle, meandering in great loops across the plain, its slower current making it ideal for irrigation and navigation in both directions. Together, these two rivers created the world's first hydraulic civilization, where human ingenuity would learn to harness the power of flowing water. Unlike the predictable Nile floods that brought life to Egypt each year at the same time, the Mesopotamian rivers were more chaotic, more dangerous. Their floods could come at any season, washing away crops and cities with devastating force, or fail to come at all, leaving fields barren and people starving. This unpredictability shaped the Mesopotamian character in profound ways. Where Egyptians saw their river as a benevolent god, Mesopotamians viewed their waters with a mixture of gratitude and fear, seeing in their rivers the dual nature of divine power, life-giving but potentially destructive. The earliest inhabitants of this land were hunters and gatherers who followed game along the river valleys, living in temporary camps, following the seasonal migrations of animals and the ripening of wild plants. They were people of movement, adaptation, survival in a landscape that could be both generous and harsh. Gradually, around 8000 BCE, some of these nomadic groups began to settle in small villages along the riverbanks, learning to cultivate wild grains, to domesticate sheep and goats, to make pottery for storing grain and water. These were humanity's first tentative steps toward the agricultural revolution that would change everything. The transition from hunting and gathering to farming was not sudden but gradual, taking place over many centuries. Families learned to save seeds from the best plants, to clear fields and plant crops, to build permanent houses of mud, brick, and reed that could shelter them through all seasons. As agricultural techniques improved and crop yields increased, populations began to grow. Villages became towns, with specialized craftsmen who could devote their time to making pottery, weaving textiles, working metal, and creating the tools and goods that made civilized life possible. The marshy plains between the rivers proved ideal for this early agricultural experiment. The soil was rich with silt deposited by millennia of flooding, providing natural fertilizer for crops. Reeds grew abundantly, providing material for houses, boats, and baskets. Fish were plentiful in the rivers and marshes, providing protein to supplement the grain-based diet. Date palms thrived in the climate, offering both fruit and wood. It was a landscape that could support large populations if properly managed, but that management required cooperation, organization, and leadership. The challenge of managing irrigation systems, digging canals, maintaining dikes, coordinating planting and harvesting, led to the development of more complex social structures. Communities needed leaders who could organize collective labor, settle disputes, and coordinate with neighboring settlements. These early settlements were often built on artificial mounds called tells, raised above the floodplain to protect against the unpredictable river floods. Layer upon layer of human habitation accumulated on these sites over centuries, creating the archaeological treasures that tell us the story of early civilization. Trade networks began to develop as communities specialized in different products. A village might become known for its pottery, another for its textiles, yet another for its metalwork. Merchants traveled between settlements, exchanging goods and ideas, spreading innovations across the region. Religious beliefs evolved to reflect the challenges and blessings of life between the rivers. Sky gods controlled the weather and floods, earth goddesses ensured fertility, water deities demanded proper rituals and offerings in exchange for their life-giving gifts. Temples began to appear in the larger settlements, first simple shrines, then more elaborate structures where priests could perform the rituals necessary to maintain harmony between the human and divine worlds. These temples became centers not just of worship, but of economic and social life. The priests who served in these temples were among the first full-time specialists in human society, supported by the agricultural surplus of their communities. They developed calendars to predict the best times for planting and harvesting, studied the movements of stars and planets, and maintained the oral traditions that preserved community knowledge. As we drift through these early centuries of settlement and development, we can imagine the gentle sounds of village life along the ancient rivers. The splash of water being drawn from irrigation canals, the lowing of cattle in reed-fenced enclosures, the soft conversations of women grinding grain, the rhythmic pounding of hammers shaping copper tools, the voices of children playing along the riverbank, the evening prayers rising from the village shrine. These peaceful sounds of early civilization echo across the millennia, connecting us to our common human heritage. By around 3500 BCE, some of these agricultural settlements had grown into something unprecedented in human history: true cities, with populations in the thousands, complex social hierarchies, monumental architecture, and sophisticated technologies that would define civilized life for millennia to come. The transformation from village to city marked one of the great turning points in human history. For the first time, large numbers of people lived together in permanent settlements, creating new challenges and opportunities that would drive innovation and cultural development at an unprecedented pace. The southern region of Mesopotamia, known as Sumer, became the stage for this urban revolution. Here, in the marshy delta where the two rivers approached the Persian Gulf, the world's first cities began to rise from the fertile plain. Uruk, Lagash, Nippur, Eridu, these names, strange and wonderful to modern ears, were humanity's first urban centers, places where thousands of people lived within protective walls, where kings ruled from palaces, where priests served in towering temples that reached toward heaven. The Sumerians, as we call these earliest city builders, created not just the first cities, but many of the fundamental innovations that define civilization. They were humanity's great inventors, the people who first imagined solutions to the challenges of urban life. They developed the world's first writing system, initially to keep track of temple goods and commercial transactions, but eventually expanding to record laws, stories, hymns, and historical accounts. Writing transformed human society by allowing knowledge to be preserved and transmitted across generations. They invented the wheel, revolutionizing transportation and pottery making. They developed the sailboat, harnessing wind power to move goods and people along rivers and across seas. They created the plow, dramatically increasing agricultural productivity. They established the first schools, where young scribes learned to read and write in the complex cuneiform script that would become the standard writing system throughout Mesopotamia for over 3,000 years. Education became the pathway to advancement in Sumerian society. Most remarkably, they invented the city itself as a form of human organization. The Sumerian city-state, with its central temple, royal palace, residential neighborhoods, and protective walls, became the model for urban civilization that would spread throughout the ancient world. Each Sumerian city was believed to be owned by a particular god or goddess, with the king serving as the deity's earthly representative. The Great Temple, or ziggurat, dominated the city skyline, its stepped sides rising toward heaven like an artificial mountain where gods and humans could meet. These ziggurats were among humanity's first monumental architecture, requiring enormous investments of labor and resources. They proclaimed the power and piety of the cities that built them, while also serving as symbols of cosmic order and divine protection. Life in a Sumerian city was organized around the temple and palace, with different neighborhoods for craftsmen, merchants, and farmers. Streets were narrow and winding, lined with houses built of mud, brick, and reed, their flat roofs serving as additional living and working space. The invention of writing allowed the Sumerians to develop complex legal and administrative systems. Laws could be recorded and preserved, ensuring consistent application of justice. Royal decrees could be distributed throughout the kingdom, enabling centralized government over large territories. Trade flourished as writing made it possible to record debts, contracts, and inventories with precision. Sumerian merchants traveled throughout the known world, their cuneiform tablets serving as the first commercial documents, the ancestors of all modern business records. The Sumerians were also great storytellers, creating myths and legends that would influence literature throughout the ancient world. Their tales of creation, flood, and heroic adventure addressed the universal human questions about the meaning of life, the nature of death, and humanity's relationship with the divine. Religious life was central to Sumerian civilization, with elaborate ceremonies, seasonal festivals, and daily rituals that connected the community to the cosmic order. Priests and priestesses served the gods through offerings, prayers, and the maintenance of temples that were seen as the earthly homes of the deities. The Sumerian pantheon was vast and complex, with hundreds of gods and goddesses governing every aspect of life and nature. Enlil controlled the wind and storms, Inanna governed love and war, Enki ruled the waters and wisdom, each requiring proper worship and respect. Art and craftsmanship reached sophisticated levels in Sumerian cities, with skilled artisans creating beautiful objects in gold, silver, bronze, and precious stones. The royal cemetery at revealed treasures of extraordinary beauty and craftsmanship that rival anything created in later civilizations. Music and poetry flourished in Sumerian culture, with professional musicians and singers performing at temples and royal courts. Hymns to the gods and epic tales of heroic adventures were passed down through generations, eventually being recorded in the world's first written literature. The Sumerians developed sophisticated mathematical systems, including the concept of place value notation and the division of the circle into 360 degrees. Their mathematical innovations would influence science and engineering throughout the ancient world and continue to shape our understanding today. Agricultural techniques became increasingly sophisticated, with complex irrigation systems that could channel water across vast distances, allowing cultivation of areas far from the rivers. These engineering projects required precise planning and coordinated labor on a scale never before attempted. As Sumerian civilization matured, competition between cities intensified. Each city-state jealously guarded its independence while seeking to expand its territory and influence. Wars between cities became common, leading to innovations in military technology and tactics. The Sumerians developed the world's first organized armies, with bronze weapons, leather armor, and disciplined formations. The Sumerian phalanx, with soldiers carrying spears and shields in tight formation, became the standard military formation throughout the ancient Near East. Fortification techniques evolved to meet the challenges of siege warfare, with cities surrounded by massive walls and protected by towers and gates. The art of war became as sophisticated as the arts of peace, with professional soldiers and military engineers developing new weapons and tactics. Despite constant warfare between cities, Sumerian civilization continued to flourish and innovate. The competitive environment may have actually spurred creativity and development, as each city sought advantages over its rivals through technological and cultural achievements. Trade networks expanded throughout the known world, with Sumerian goods reaching as far as the Indus Valley and Anatolia. Sumerian culture and technology spread along these trade routes, influencing the development of civilization throughout the ancient world. The period from 3500 to 2334 BCE, known as the Early Dynastic Period, saw Sumerian civilization reach its first golden age. Cities grew larger and more sophisticated, art and literature flourished, and innovations in technology and governance laid the foundations for all subsequent Mesopotamian civilizations. As we drift through these early centuries of urban life, we can imagine the sounds of a thriving Sumerian city, the ring of bronze hammers in metalworking shops, the voices of merchants haggling in the marketplace, the chanting of priests in temple courtyards. The creaking of wooden wheels on the world's first vehicles, the splash of boats navigating irrigation canals, the laughter of children playing in neighborhood streets. These were the sounds of humanity's first urban experiment, the beginning of civilized life as we know it. Around 2334 BCE, the independent city-states of Sumer faced a new challenge from the north. A Semitic-speaking people, led by a remarkable king named Sargon, began to unite the entire region under a single ruler for the first time in history. Sargon of Akkad, whose very name meant legitimate king, conquered the Sumerian cities one by one, creating the world's first multi-ethnic empire. His capital at Akkad became the center of a realm that stretched from the Persian Gulf to the Mediterranean Sea. The Akkadian Empire represented a new form of political organization, uniting diverse peoples under a single administration while allowing local traditions to continue. Sargon's empire lasted for over 150 years, establishing patterns of imperial rule that would be followed by subsequent Mesopotamian empires. The Akkadians adopted and adapted Sumerian culture, learning cuneiform writing and Sumerian religious traditions, while introducing their own language and customs. This cultural fusion enriched Mesopotamian civilization and created new forms of artistic and literary expression. Akkadian became the lingua franca of the ancient Near East, the language of diplomacy and trade from Egypt to Iran. The Epic of Gilgamesh was composed in Akkadian, becoming one of the world's first great works of literature to be widely known across different cultures. Sargon's daughter, Enheduanna, became the world's first known author, composing hymns and poems that were attributed to her by name. She served as high priestess of the moon god Nana at bridging the worlds of religion and literature in ways that would influence Mesopotamian culture for centuries. The Akkadian period saw significant advances in art and architecture, with more naturalistic sculpture and relief carving that showed greater attention to individual characteristics and emotional expression. Royal portraits from this period show a new psychological depth and complexity. Military technology advanced during the Akkadian period, with improvements in bronze weapons and the development of composite bows that could shoot arrows with greater range and accuracy. These innovations gave Akkadian armies advantages over their enemies and helped maintain their vast empire. Trade networks expanded dramatically under Akkadian rule, with merchants traveling to India for precious stones, to Anatolia for silver, and to Lebanon for cedar wood. The wealth generated by this trade funded monumental building projects and supported the arts. However, the Akkadian Empire faced constant challenges from rebellious cities, nomadic invasions, and natural disasters. Climate change around 2200 BCE brought severe droughts that weakened agricultural production and contributed to social unrest throughout the region. The Gutians, a mountain people from the Zagros Mountains, invaded Mesopotamia and overthrew the weakened Akkadian Empire. Their rule was brief, but marked by destruction and disorder that contemporary texts describe as a time of chaos and suffering. Yet even during this period of political fragmentation, Mesopotamian culture continued to develop. Local traditions reasserted themselves while Akkadian innovations were preserved and transmitted to future generations. The resilience of Mesopotamian civilization was remarkable. Around 2112 BCE, the city of rose to prominence under a new dynasty that would restore order and prosperity to Mesopotamia. The third dynasty of also known as the Neo-Sumerian period, represented a renaissance of Sumerian culture and political power. The kings of Ur-II, particularly Ur-Nammu and his son Shulgi, created a highly centralized state that controlled most of Mesopotamia through efficient administration and military power. They established the world's first comprehensive legal code and built extensive networks of roads and administrative centers. The Ur-II period saw remarkable achievements in mathematics, astronomy, and literature. Schools flourished, producing thousands of trained scribes who maintained detailed records of every aspect of government and economic life. These archives provide us with extraordinary insight into ancient Mesopotamian society. The ziggurat at was rebuilt during this period, as one of the largest and most impressive temple complexes in Mesopotamia. Its massive stepped sides rose over 100 feet into the air, topped by a temple where the moon god Nana was believed to dwell among mortals. Art and craftsmanship reached new heights during the Ur-III period, with exquisite works in gold, silver, and precious stones. The royal tombs at Ur contain treasures that demonstrate the wealth and artistic sophistication of this golden age of Sumerian revival. However, like the Akkadian Empire before it, the third dynasty of Ur faced challenges from nomadic invasions and internal rebellions. The Amorites, a Semitic-speaking nomadic people, began pressing into Mesopotamia from the western deserts, gradually weakening Ur's control over outlying territories. Around 2004 BCE, the city of Ur fell to a coalition of enemies, ending the last great Sumerian empire. The fall of Ur marked the end of Sumerian political independence, though Sumerian culture and religion would continue to influence Mesopotamian civilization for centuries to come. As we drift through this early period of Mesopotamian history, we can imagine the gentle evening sounds along the ancient rivers, the soft splash of water against irrigation channels, the distant bleating of sheep in temple courtyards, the murmur of evening prayers from neighborhood shrines. The Sumerian legacy lived on in the cities, laws, and traditions they had created. Their innovations in writing, mathematics, law, and governance had laid the foundations for all subsequent civilizations in Mesopotamia and far beyond. They had shown humanity what was possible when people came together in cities. With the fall of Ur, Mesopotamia entered a new phase of its history. The Amorites, who had long been nomadic herders on the fringes of civilization, began to settle in the cities and adopt Mesopotamian culture, eventually establishing new dynasties that would carry forward the traditions of the land between the rivers. One Amorite settlement, a small city on the Euphrates called Babylon, would eventually grow to dominate not just Mesopotamia but much of the known world. But that triumph lay centuries in the future. For now, the region experienced a period of political fragmentation and cultural transformation. The period from 2000 to 1600 BCE, known as the Old Babylonian period, saw the emergence of several competing kingdoms throughout Mesopotamia. Babylon, Assyria, Mari, and Larsa all vied for supremacy, creating a complex political landscape of shifting alliances and conflicts. This political competition spurred innovations in military technology, diplomatic practices, and administrative techniques. Kings corresponded with each other in cuneiform letters that provide fascinating insights into ancient international relations, trade negotiations, and royal personalities. The city of Mari, located on the upper Euphrates, became a major center of trade and diplomacy during this period. Its archives, discovered by modern archaeologists, contain over 20,000 cuneiform tablets that illuminate every aspect of ancient Mesopotamian life from royal politics to daily household management. Mari's palace was one of the largest buildings in the ancient world, with over 300 rooms including throne rooms, residential quarters, administrative offices, and religious shrines. Wall paintings depicted elaborate religious and royal ceremonies, showing the sophisticated artistic traditions of the period. The kings of Mari maintained diplomatic relations with rulers throughout the Near East, from Anatolia to Egypt. Their correspondence reveals a world of complex international politics, where marriages, treaties, and trade agreements bound kingdoms together in intricate networks of mutual obligation. Religious practices evolved during the Old Babylonian period, with local gods gaining prominence while the great Sumerian deities remained important. The god Marduk of Babylon began his rise to supremacy in the Mesopotamian pantheon, eventually becoming the king of all gods. Literature flourished during this period, with new versions of ancient myths and the composition of new works that explored themes of justice, suffering, and divine will. The Babylonian creation epic, Enuma Elish, told how Marduk defeated the forces of chaos to create an ordered universe. Legal traditions developed sophistication during the Old Babylonian period, culminating in the famous law code of Hammurabi around 1750 BCE. This comprehensive legal document established principles of justice that would influence law throughout the ancient world and beyond. Hammurabi, the sixth king of the first dynasty of Babylon, transformed his city from a minor regional center into the capital of an empire that controlled most of Mesopotamia. His reign marked the beginning of Babylon's long dominance over the region. The Code of Hammurabi contained nearly 300 laws covering everything from property rights to family relations, from commercial disputes to criminal penalties. It established the principle that the law should be written and public, accessible to all citizens rather than being the secret knowledge of priests and kings. If a man steals a sheep, he shall pay 10 sheep, reads one typical law. If he has nothing to pay with, he shall be put to death. The code established consistent penalties for crimes while recognizing differences in social status. Nobles, commoners, and slaves were treated differently under the law. The code also addressed women's rights, inheritance laws, and business practices in ways that were remarkably progressive for the ancient world. Women could own property, conduct business, and initiate divorce under certain circumstances, reflecting the relatively high status of women in Mesopotamian society. Hammurabi had his law code carved on a black stone pillar, or stele, topped with a relief showing the king receiving the laws from the sun god Shamash. This monument proclaimed that the king's authority came from the gods and that justice was a divine principle that must be upheld. The Code of Hammurabi was copied and studied throughout the ancient Near East, becoming one of the most influential legal documents in human history. Its principles influenced later law codes, including those that would eventually shape modern legal systems. Under Hammurabi and his successors, Babylon became a center of learning and culture. Schools trained scribes in law, administration, mathematics, and astronomy. Libraries preserved thousands of cuneiform tablets containing the accumulated wisdom of Mesopotamian civilization. Babylonian mathematicians made significant advances during this period, developing sophisticated techniques for solving complex problems. They used a sexagesimal, base 60, number system that influenced astronomical calculations and time measurement. We still divide hours into 60 minutes and minutes into 60 seconds. Astronomical observations became increasingly precise, with Babylonian astronomer priests tracking the movements of planets and stars with remarkable accuracy. Their work laid the foundations for later Greek astronomy and continues to influence modern understanding of celestial mechanics. Trade networks expanded under Babylonian rule, with merchants traveling throughout the known world. Babylon became a cosmopolitan city where people from many different cultures lived and worked together, creating a rich environment for cultural exchange and innovation. The Old Babylonian period also saw the composition of the most complete version of the Epic of Gilgamesh, humanity's first great work of literature. This profound exploration of friendship, mortality, and the search for meaning continues to resonate with readers today. The epic tells the story of Gilgamesh, king of Uruk, and his friendship with the wild man Enkidu. Together they perform great deeds, but when Enkidu dies, Gilgamesh is devastated by grief and begins a quest for immortality that ultimately teaches him to accept human mortality and find meaning in earthly life. The flood story embedded in the Gilgamesh epic, where Utnapishtim survives a world-destroying deluge by building an ark, influenced flood narratives throughout the ancient world and bears striking similarities to the biblical story of Noah. These themes of friendship, loss, and the search for meaning made the Gilgamesh epic popular throughout the ancient Near East. Copies have been found from Turkey to Egypt, demonstrating the universal appeal of its message about the human condition. Art and architecture flourished under the Old Babylonian dynasty, with temples and palaces decorated with sophisticated relief carvings and colorful glazed bricks. The Ishtar Gate and Hanging Gardens, if they existed, would later make Babylon famous throughout the ancient world. However, the Old Babylonian period came to an end around 1595 BCE when the Hittites, an Indo-European people from Anatolia, sacked Babylon. This attack weakened Babylonian power and allowed other peoples to assert control over different parts of Mesopotamia. The Kassites, a people from the Zagros Mountains, established control over Babylon and ruled for over 400 years, the longest dynasty in Mesopotamian history. Though they adopted Babylonian culture and traditions, their rule marked a period of relative decline in innovation and cultural achievement. Meanwhile, in northern Mesopotamia, the city of Ashur was growing in power and influence. The Assyrians, named for their chief god Ashur, would eventually create the largest and most militaristic empire the ancient world had yet seen. As we drift through these centuries of political change and cultural development, we can imagine the peaceful sounds of evening along the ancient rivers, the gentle lapping of water against harbor walls, the soft voices of families gathering for evening meals, the distant music from temple festivals. The traditions established by the Sumerians continued to flourish even as political power shifted between different peoples and cities. The cuneiform script continued to be used, the ancient gods continued to be worshipped, and the fundamental patterns of Mesopotamian civilization endured through all the changes of dynasty and empire. Around 1365 BCE, Assyria began its rise to become the dominant power in Mesopotamia and much of the Near East. From their heartland in northern Iraq, around the cities of Ashur and Nineveh, the Assyrians built an empire that would stretch from Iran to Egypt. The Assyrians were master warriors and administrators, creating the most efficient military machine and governmental system the ancient world had yet seen. Their armies were disciplined, well-equipped, and utterly ruthless in conquest, while their administration was sophisticated enough to govern dozens of different peoples. Assyrian kings like Tiglath-Pileser III, Sargon II, and Sennacherib expanded their empire through systematic conquest, deporting rebellious populations and replacing them with loyal colonists. This policy prevented revolts but also spread Mesopotamian culture throughout their vast territories. The Assyrian army was a professional force equipped with iron weapons, siege engines, and cavalry units. They pioneered many military innovations, including the use of engineering corps to build roads and bridges, and developed sophisticated siege techniques that could reduce the strongest fortifications. Assyrian kings built magnificent palaces decorated with stone reliefs that depicted their military victories and royal ceremonies. These carvings, found in palaces at Nineveh, Nimrud, and Khorsabad, provide vivid depictions of ancient warfare, royal life, and religious practices. The palace of Sennacherib at Nineveh was said to be one of the wonders of the ancient world, with 71 rooms decorated with stone reliefs covering over 2 miles of wall space. Gardens, courtyards, and pools created a paradise on earth for the Assyrian kings. The Assyrians were also great scholars and librarians. Ashurbanipal, the last great Assyrian king, assembled the largest library in the ancient world at Nineveh, collecting over 30,000 cuneiform tablets containing the accumulated knowledge of Mesopotamian civilization. This royal library preserved texts that would otherwise have been lost, including the most complete version of the Epic of Gilgamesh and countless other works of literature, science, religion, and history. When archaeologists discovered it in the 19th century, it revolutionized our understanding of ancient Mesopotamia. Assyrian rule brought peace and prosperity to much of the Near East, despite its reputation for ruthlessness. Trade flourished under Assyrian protection, cities grew larger and more prosperous, and cultural exchange between different regions increased. The Assyrians adopted and adapted the cultural traditions of the peoples they conquered, creating a cosmopolitan empire where Sumerian, Babylonian, and other traditions blended with Assyrian innovations. This cultural synthesis enriched the entire region. Religious practices under Assyrian rule combined traditional Mesopotamian gods with royal ideology. The king was seen as the chosen representative of the god Ashur, responsible for maintaining order and expanding the empire in service to the divine will. Assyrian art reached extraordinary heights of sophistication, with palace reliefs showing remarkable skill in depicting both human figures and animals. The famous lion hunt reliefs from Ashurbanipal's palace demonstrate the highest levels of artistic achievement in ancient sculpture. These reliefs not only celebrated royal power, but also showed deep observation of nature and human emotion. The wounded lions in the hunt scenes are portrayed with sympathy and pathos that transcends their role as symbols of royal triumph. Scientific and mathematical knowledge advanced under Assyrian rule, with astronomers making increasingly precise observations of celestial movements. Assyrian mathematical texts show sophisticated understanding of geometry and algebra. However, the Assyrian Empire's very success contained the seeds of its downfall. The constant military campaigns required to maintain such a vast empire were expensive and exhausting, while the harsh treatment of subject peoples created widespread resentment. In 626 BCE, Babylon revolted against Assyrian rule under Nabopolassar, founder of the Neo-Babylonian dynasty. Allied with the Medes from Iran, the Babylonians besieged and destroyed the great Assyrian cities, ending nearly 3 centuries of Assyrian dominance. The fall of Nineveh in 612 BCE was so complete that the city virtually disappeared from history. For centuries afterward, travelers passed by its ruins without recognizing what they had been, fulfilling the biblical prophecy that Nineveh would become a desolation. Yet the Assyrian legacy lived on in the administrative systems, military techniques, and cultural traditions they had developed. Their innovations in governance, their preservation of ancient texts, and their artistic achievements would influence all subsequent Near Eastern civilizations. With the fall of Assyria, Babylon experienced its final and most glorious renaissance. Under Nebuchadnezzar II and his Neo-Babylonian dynasty, Babylon became the greatest city in the world, famous for its architectural wonders and cultural achievements. Nebuchadnezzar II, who ruled from 605 to 562 BCE, transformed Babylon into a city of legendary beauty and splendor. His building projects included the magnificent Ishtar Gate, the towering ziggurat known as Etemenenki, and possibly the famous Hanging Gardens. The Ishtar Gate, dedicated to the goddess of love and war, was faced with brilliant blue glazed bricks decorated with golden dragons and bulls. Passing through this gate, visitors entered the most magnificent city of the ancient world, with wide processional streets and towering temples. The Hanging Gardens of Babylon, if they existed, were said to be one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. Greek historians described terraced gardens rising in steps, watered by ingenious hydraulic systems, creating a green paradise in the heart of the desert city. Whether the Hanging Gardens were real or legendary, they captured the imagination of the ancient world and symbolized Babylon's reputation as a city of wonders, a place where human ingenuity had created marvels that seemed to transcend natural limitations. The ziggurat Edamenenki, the house of the foundation of heaven and earth, rose nearly 300 feet above the city, its 7 terraced levels representing the stages of heaven. This was likely the inspiration for the biblical Tower of Babel, symbol of human ambition reaching toward the divine. Neo-Babylonian astronomers made remarkable advances in mathematical astronomy, developing techniques for predicting planetary movements with extraordinary accuracy. Their astronomical diaries recorded observations that are still valuable to modern astronomers studying ancient celestial events. The Babylonian calendar became the standard throughout the Near East, with its 12 lunar months, intercalary days, and sophisticated system for keeping lunar and solar years in alignment. Elements of this calendar continue to influence modern timekeeping. Under Nebuchadnezzar, Babylon became a center of international trade and diplomacy. Merchants from throughout the known world came to buy and sell goods in its markets, while ambassadors from distant kingdoms sought audience in its royal palace. The city's wealth funded magnificent temples throughout Babylonia, each rebuilt and decorated according to ancient traditions, but with new splendor befitting the greatest empire of its time. The gods of Mesopotamia received worship in temples that surpassed anything previously built. Babylonian literature experienced a renaissance during this period, with new compositions and revised versions of ancient classics. The creation epic Enuma Elish was rewritten to glorify Marduk as supreme deity, reflecting Babylon's political and religious dominance. Legal and administrative texts from this period show a sophisticated governmental system that balanced royal authority with traditional rights and customs. The Neo-Babylonian legal system continued the tradition of written law that stretched back to Hammurabi. Art and craftsmanship reached new heights under the Neo-Babylonians, with skilled artisans creating works in precious metals, carved stone, and glazed ceramic that demonstrated both technical mastery and aesthetic sophistication. However, the Neo-Babylonian Empire faced challenges from the rising power of Persia under Cyrus the Great. Internal political problems, including conflicts between the king and powerful priesthoods, weakened Babylon's ability to respond to external threats. In 539 BCE, Cyrus the Great of Persia entered Babylon without a battle, welcomed by priests and citizens who saw him as a liberator from unpopular rule. This marked the end of Mesopotamian independence and the beginning of Persian dominance over the region. The Persian conquest was relatively gentle, with Cyrus respecting Babylonian traditions and allowing local customs to continue. The famous Cyrus Cylinder proclaimed his policy of religious tolerance and restoration of displaced peoples to their homelands. Under Persian rule, Mesopotamia remained an important province of the vast Persian Empire, contributing its agricultural wealth and cultural traditions to the cosmopolitan Persian state. Babylonian astronomers and scholars continued their work under Persian patronage. The Persian period saw continued development in astronomy and mathematics, with Babylonian scholars making observations and calculations that would later influence Greek science. The interaction between Persian, Babylonian, and Greek traditions created new syntheses of knowledge. Cuneiform writing continued to be used throughout the Persian period, though Aramaic increasingly became the language of administration and daily life. The ancient script that had recorded human thoughts for over 3 millennia gradually gave way to simpler alphabetic systems. Religious traditions evolved under Persian influence, with some Mesopotamian deities being identified with Persian gods, while local cults continued their ancient practices. This religious syncretism created new forms of worship and belief. When Alexander the Great conquered the Persian Empire in 331 BCE, Mesopotamia became part of the Hellenistic world. Greek culture and ideas blended with ancient Mesopotamian traditions, creating new forms of art, literature, and philosophy. The Seleucid Empire, one of the successor states to Alexander's empire, ruled Mesopotamia for nearly 3 centuries, founding new Greek cities while maintaining respect for ancient traditions. Seleucia on Tigris became a major center of Hellenistic culture. During the Hellenistic period, Babylonian astronomy reached its greatest heights, with mathematical models for planetary motion that would not be surpassed until the Renaissance. Greek and Babylonian scholars worked together to advance human understanding of the cosmos. The last cuneiform texts were written during the 1st century CE, marking the end of a writing tradition that had lasted for over 3 millennia. With the disappearance of cuneiform, direct connection to ancient Mesopotamian thought and culture was lost for centuries. As we drift through these final centuries of ancient Mesopotamian civilization, we can imagine the eternal sounds that continued along the ancient rivers. The gentle flow of water through irrigation channels, the calls of birds in the marshlands, the soft voices of people whose ancestors had lived here for thousands of years. Though political independence was lost, the cultural legacy of Mesopotamia continued to influence the civilizations that followed. Greek science, Roman law, and Christian theology all bore traces of ideas and traditions that first developed in the land between the rivers. The great cities gradually declined as trade routes shifted and political centers moved elsewhere. Sand began to cover the magnificent palaces and temples, while the irrigation systems that had sustained civilization for millennia slowly fell into disrepair. Yet beneath the sand, the accumulated treasures of human achievement waited to be rediscovered. The cuneiform tablets that recorded everything from royal chronicles to love letters, from astronomical observations to commercial contracts, preserved the voices of ancient Mesopotamia. When 19th century archaeologists began excavating the tells of Mesopotamia, they uncovered not just objects but entire libraries of human thought and experience. The Royal Library of Ashurbanipal, the archives of Mari, the tablets of Kanish. These discoveries revolutionized our understanding of the ancient world. The decipherment of cuneiform script in the 19th century allowed scholars to read the words of Hammurabi, to follow the adventures of Gilgamesh, to understand the mathematical achievements of Babylonian astronomers. Ancient Mesopotamia began to speak again after millennia of silence. Today, museums around the world display the treasures of Mesopotamian civilization. Golden jewelry from Ur, stone reliefs from Assyrian palaces, cylinder seals with their intricate carvings, clay tablets inscribed with humanity's first written words. The legacy of Mesopotamian civilization permeates our modern world in ways both obvious and subtle. Our system of time measurement, our mathematical concepts, our legal traditions, our urban planning, all bear traces of innovations first developed in ancient Mesopotamia. The 24-hour day, the 60-minute hour, the 360-degree circle, these familiar concepts originated with Mesopotamian mathematicians and astronomers, who first divided time and space into precise, measurable units. Our legal systems still reflect principles first articulated in the Code of Hammurabi, that laws should be written and public, that justice should be consistent, that the powerful should be held accountable for their actions toward the weak. Modern cities, with their central districts, residential neighborhoods, specialized commercial areas, and protective boundaries, follow patterns first established in Sumerian city-states over 5,000 years ago. The concept of universal education, of schools where young people learn to read and write, traces back to Sumerian scribal schools, where the children of craftsmen and merchants could acquire the literacy that would elevate them in society. Literature continues to explore the themes first articulated in the Epic of Gilgamesh. The meaning of friendship, the inevitability of death, the search for purpose in a mortal existence. These universal human concerns transcend time and culture. Even our religious and philosophical traditions bear the influence of Mesopotamian thought. The flood narrative, creation stories, concepts of divine justice and human responsibility all have roots in the rich soil of Mesopotamian spirituality. The invention of writing itself, perhaps humanity's greatest intellectual achievement, began in Mesopotamian temples and marketplaces where priests and merchants needed to record offerings and transactions. From these practical beginnings grew all of human literature. Modern agricultural techniques still use principles first developed by Mesopotamian farmers: irrigation, crop rotation, the use of livestock for cultivation. The green revolution that feeds our modern world began in the fertile fields between the Tigris and Euphrates. International diplomacy, with its treaties, ambassadors, and protocols, began with correspondence between Mesopotamian kings who needed to maintain peace and trade relationships across the complex political landscape of the ancient Near East. The scientific method itself has roots in Mesopotamian astronomy, where careful observation, record-keeping, and mathematical analysis were first used to understand natural phenomena and make predictions about future events. As we drift toward sleep, we can imagine ourselves floating gently down the eternal rivers that gave birth to civilization, carried by currents that have flowed unchanged since the dawn of human history, past fields where farmers still plant grain as their ancestors did 60 centuries ago. The palm trees that line the riverbanks are descendants of palms that provided dates and shade to Sumerian farmers. The reeds that grow in the marshes are the same species used to build the first houses, the first boats, the first writing tablets. In the soft evening light, we can almost see the ghostly outlines of ancient cities rising from the tells, their ziggurats reaching toward stars that shine today as they shone on the first astronomers who mapped their movements and named the constellations. The gentle splash of water against riverbanks carries echoes of the voices of fishermen who cast their nets in these same waters when the world was young, when writing was new, when humanity was just beginning to imagine what might be possible. Listen, can you hear the distant sound of clay tablets being impressed with cuneiform signs, recording for the first time the thoughts and dreams of human beings? The soft scraping of reed styluses in wet clay, writing the first laws, the first stories, the first love poems. The rhythm of potters' wheels shaping clay vessels, the ring of bronze hammers forging the first metal tools, the creaking of the first wheeled vehicles carrying goods along the first roads between the first cities of the world. These sounds of innovation and creativity, of humans learning to live together in large communities, to govern themselves with written laws, to preserve their thoughts in permanent form, echo across the millennia like a gentle lullaby. In the starlit silence of the Mesopotamian night, we can feel the presence of all those who came before us. The farmers who first learned to channel the river's flow, the craftsmen who shaped clay and metal into beautiful objects, the scribes who recorded humanity's first written thoughts, the kings who first tried to create just societies, the priests who sought to understand the divine will, the astronomers who mapped the movements of celestial bodies, the poets who first put human emotions into imperishable words. Their legacy flows through time like the rivers themselves, carrying the accumulated wisdom and achievements of human civilization from its source in ancient Mesopotamia to all the cultures and societies that followed. Sleep peacefully now, knowing that you are part of this great river of human achievement, this flowing stream of knowledge and culture that began in the land between the rivers and continues to nourish human civilization today. Rest in the knowledge that the fundamental human drive to create, to build, to learn, to preserve knowledge for future generations, first found expression in ancient Mesopotamia and continues to inspire us today. Dream of ziggurats rising from fertile plains, their stepped sides climbing toward heaven like prayers made manifest in brick and stone. Dream of scribes bent over clay tablets, carefully forming the wedge-shaped marks that would preserve human thought for eternity. Dream of gardens beside ancient rivers, where date palms cast shadows over irrigation channels that brought life to the desert, where farmers worked soil that their ancestors had cultivated for hundreds of generations. Dream of merchant caravans crossing vast distances, carrying goods and ideas between cities, spreading the innovations and achievements of Mesopotamian civilization to the ends of the known world. Dream of royal courts where kings received tribute from distant lands, where poets recited the great epics, where musicians played instruments whose melodies have been lost but whose echoes still resonate in the human heart. In your dreams, walk through the markets of ancient Babylon, where merchants from India displayed precious stones, where craftsmen from Anatolia offered silver vessels, where the wealth of the known world was gathered in one magnificent city. See the great processional way leading to the Ishtar Gate, its glazed bricks shining like jewels in the desert sun, its golden animals seeming to move in the shimmering heat, welcoming visitors to the greatest city of the ancient world. Feel the cool evening breeze that has blown across these rivers since before human memory, carrying the scent of date blossoms and the sound of water flowing through channels dug by the hands of countless generations. In the peaceful darkness, hear the gentle voices of families gathering for evening meals, sharing the bread and beer that have sustained life in this land for thousands of years, telling stories that have been passed down since the beginning of time. The soft murmur of evening prayers in temple courtyards, where priests tend eternal flames that have burned for the gods since cities first rose from the marshy plains, maintaining the ancient covenant between earth and heaven. Rest now in the embrace of history itself, cradled by the same stars that guided Mesopotamian astronomers in their calculations, comforted by the same moon that lit the paths of ancient travelers crossing the desert between distant cities. The rivers flow on through the darkness, carrying their eternal burden of silt and memory, of stories and dreams, of all the hopes and achievements of the people who first learned to call the land between the waters home. In this gentle flow of time and memory, find peace, knowing that human civilization began here, in this cradle between two rivers, and that its legacy continues to flow through all our modern achievements and aspirations. Sleep deeply, and let your dreams carry you back to the very beginning of recorded history, to the first cities, the first laws, the first written words, the first great works of literature that explored what it means to be human. The gentle sound of styluses on clay tablets continues through the night, writing new chapters in the endless story of human achievement, recording dreams and aspirations that stretch from ancient Mesopotamia to the stars themselves. In the land between the rivers, where it all began, the ancient voices whisper still of the wonders that humans can achieve when they come together in cities, when they preserve their knowledge in writing, when they reach toward heaven while keeping their feet planted in the fertile earth. The Tigris and Euphrates flow on toward the sea, as they have for millions of years, carrying with them the dreams of all who have lived along their banks, the aspirations of the first civilization, and the promise of all civilizations yet to come. Rest peacefully in this eternal flow, this river of human memory and achievement that began in ancient Mesopotamia and continues to nourish the human spirit today, reminding us of what we can accomplish when we work together toward common dreams. The ziggurat of still rises from the desert sands, its ancient bricks weathered by time but still reaching toward heaven, still proclaiming the human desire to touch the divine, to build for eternity, to leave something lasting in this temporary world. Sleep now and dream of humanity's first great adventure in civilization, the bold experiment of living together in cities, of governing ourselves with written laws, of preserving our thoughts and dreams for future generations to read and remember. In the silence of the Mesopotamian night, beneath stars that have watched over this land since the beginning of time, the eternal rivers flow on, carrying the story of human civilization from its ancient source toward all the wonders that are yet to be discovered. 115 The cuneiform tablets rest silent in museum cases around the world, but their voices still speak to those who learn to read their wedge-shaped script, telling stories of love and loss, of triumph and defeat, of the eternal human quest for meaning and permanence. 145 These clay messengers from the dawn of history remind us that we are part of an unbroken chain of human experience that stretches back to the first cities, the first laws, the first written stories, the first attempts to understand our place in the cosmos. 101. 15 The great libraries of Mesopotamia may have crumbled into dust, but their legacy lives on in every book, every school, every effort to preserve and transmit human knowledge from one generation to the next. 101. 45 Sleep peacefully, knowing that you carry within you the accumulated wisdom of all who came before, the dreams and aspirations of the people who first learned to write their thoughts on clay, who first built cities, who first tried to create just and lasting societies. 102. 15 The gentle lapping of water against ancient harbor walls, the soft rustle of reed boats moving through irrigation channels, the distant sound of temple bells calling the faithful to prayer. These peaceful sounds of ancient Mesopotamia echo still in the rhythm of your breathing as you drift towards sleep. 102. 45 In your dreams tonight, you walk with Gilgamesh and Enkidu through the cedar forest. You stand with Hammurabi as he receives the laws from Shamash. You watch with wonder as the first cuneiform signs are pressed into wet clay, creating humanity's first written words. 103. 15 The rivers that gave birth to civilization flow on through the darkness, carrying your dreams toward the dawn, toward the endless possibility that has always been the greatest gift of human civilization. The promise that tomorrow we might achieve something even greater than what we accomplished today. 103. 45 Rest now in the peaceful embrace of history, cradled by the knowledge that human civilization has endured for over 5,000 years, that the dreams and aspirations of ancient Mesopotamia continue to inspire and guide us, that the story of human achievement is far from over. 104. 15 The land between the rivers sleeps beneath the same stars that guided ancient astronomers, the same moon that lit the paths of merchants and pilgrims, the same constellations that were first named and mapped by Mesopotamian priest-scientists seeking to understand the divine order of creation. 104. 45 In this timeless landscape where human civilization began, find peace, find rest, find dreams that connect you to all who have ever looked up at the stars and wondered about their place in the great story of existence. 105. 15 Sleep deeply, and let the gentle flow of the eternal rivers carry you through the night, past the ruins of ancient cities, past the tells that hide the treasures of human achievement, toward the dawn of new possibilities that each day brings. 105. 45 The story of Mesopotamia is the story of humanity itself. Our first attempts to live together in peace, to govern ourselves with justice, to preserve our thoughts and dreams, to reach toward heaven while building lasting foundations on earth. 106. 15 That story continues in every act of human creativity, every effort to build something lasting, every attempt to record knowledge for future generations, every dream of a better world. The legacy of ancient Mesopotamia lives on in all of us. 106. 45 The Tigris and Euphrates flow on through the night, carrying with them the dreams of ancient kings and farmers, of priests and merchants, of all who ever lived in the land that gave birth to human civilization, and who dared to imagine what might be possible. 107. 15 asterisk in the gentle darkness of the Mesopotamian night, surrounded by the whispered voices of history, cradled by the eternal flow of rivers that have nourished human dreams for millennia, sleep peacefully and dream of all the wonders yet to be discovered. 107. 45. The ancient ziggurats stand silent sentinel in the desert, their stepped sides still reaching toward heaven after thousands of years, still proclaiming the human desire to touch eternity, to build monuments that will outlast our brief lives and speak to generations yet unborn. 108. 15 Rest now, and let your dreams carry you back to the very beginning of the human story, to the first cities rising from fertile plains, to the first written words capturing human thoughts, to the first great works of literature exploring the meaning of existence itself. 108. 45 The story of ancient Mesopotamia is your story too, the story of all humanity's attempts to create something beautiful and lasting, to understand our place in the cosmos, to build civilizations that honor both human achievement and divine mystery. 109. 15 Sleep peacefully in the land between the rivers, where it all began, where human civilization first flowered, where the dreams and aspirations that still guide us today were first given form in clay and stone, in law and literature, in the eternal human quest for meaning and beauty. 109. 45 The gentle sound of water flowing through ancient channels, the soft whisper of wind through date palms, the distant echo of voices speaking the world's first written words. These peaceful sounds of ancient Mesopotamia carry you gently into sleep, into dreams of humanity's first great adventure in civilization. 110. 15 asterisk in the silence of the desert night, beneath stars that have watched over this land since the dawn of time, the rivers flow on toward the sea, carrying with them the accumulated dreams and achievements of the first civilization, the eternal story of human hope and aspiration. 110. 45 Rest now, and dream of ancient wonders and eternal truths, of the first cities and the first laws, of the first written stories and the first great libraries, of all the foundations of civilization that were laid in the fertile land between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers. 111. 15 The cuneiform tablets may be silent now, but their message echoes through time, that humans are capable of great things when they work together, that knowledge preserved is knowledge multiplied, that the dreams of one generation can inspire countless others. 111. 45 Sleep deeply in the embrace of this ancient wisdom, knowing that you are part of the great human story that began in Mesopotamia and continues still, that the rivers of human achievement flow on, carrying all our hopes toward an ever brighter future. 112. 15 The land between the rivers rests beneath the eternal stars, its ancient cities sleeping beneath the sand, but their legacy living on in every human achievement, every act of creativity, every effort to build something beautiful and lasting in this temporary world. 112. 45 asterisk in your final dreams of ancient Mesopotamia, see the great rivers flowing on through eternity, carrying the story of human civilization from its source in the distant past toward all the wonders and discoveries that await us in the future, in the endless flow of human dreams and aspirations. 113. 15 Sleep peacefully now, cradled by the gentle currents of time and memory, surrounded by the whispered voices of all who came before us, comforted by the knowledge that the human story that began here will continue as long as there are dreamers to dream and builders to build. 113. 45 The Tigris and Euphrates flow on through the darkness toward the dawn, carrying with them the eternal promise of human civilization, that we can learn, we can grow, we can create beauty, we can build lasting foundations for those who will come after us. 114. 15 asterisk Rest in the peaceful embrace of ancient Mesopotamia, where human civilization began its long journey toward the stars, where the first written words captured human thoughts for eternity, where the dreams of humanity first took lasting form in the imperishable clay tablets of time. 114. 45. The gentle sound of styluses on clay fades into the whisper of wind through reeds, the splash of boats on ancient rivers, the soft voices of families sharing evening meals beside waters that have nourished human dreams since the very beginning of recorded time. 115. 15. Sleep deeply, and let the eternal rivers carry your dreams through the night, past the ruins of ziggurats and palaces, past the tells that hide humanity's first treasures, toward the dawn of new possibilities that each day brings to those who dare to dream and build. 115. 45. In the land between the rivers, where it all began, the ancient voices whisper still of the wonders that await those who have the courage to imagine, the wisdom to preserve knowledge, and the hope to believe that tomorrow can be better than today. 116. 15. The story of ancient Mesopotamia is complete, but the greater story of human civilization continues, flowing like the eternal rivers from the fertile past toward the limitless future, carrying all our dreams and aspirations toward destinations we can only imagine. 116. 45. Rest peacefully now in the cradle of civilization, surrounded by the gentle spirits of all who work to build the foundations upon which all human achievement rests, knowing that their dreams live on in every human heart that dares to hope for something greater. 117. 15. The Tigris and Euphrates flow on through the eternal night, carrying the story of humanity's first great adventure in civilization toward all the adventures yet to come, in the endless, gentle flow of human dreams and the eternal quest for meaning, beauty, and truth. 117. 45. Sleep now, and dream of ancient wonders, knowing that you are part of the great river of human achievement that began in Mesopotamia and flows on still, carrying all our hopes and dreams toward the distant stars that have watched over this sacred land since time began. 118. 15. In the peaceful silence of the land between the rivers, beneath the same stars that guided the first astronomers, the same moon that lit the paths of ancient pilgrims, rest quietly and let your dreams carry you gently through the night on the eternal currents of human memory and hope. 118. 45. The ancient story ends, but the greater story of human civilization flows on like the rivers themselves, eternal, life-giving, carrying the accumulated wisdom and dreams of all generations toward the boundless possibilities that await us in the bright tomorrow that is always dawning somewhere in the world. 119. 15. Sleep peacefully, and let the gentle waters of time carry you safely through the night, past all the ancient wonders we have seen together, toward the rest that comes to all who have journeyed far and learned much about the remarkable story of human civilization in the land between the rivers. 119. 45. The rivers flow on, as they always have, as they always will, carrying their eternal burden of dreams and memory, of human hope and divine mystery, in the endless, gentle journey from the ancient past toward the limitless future that beckons to all who dare to dream. 120. 15. Rest now in perfect peace, knowing that the story of ancient Mesopotamia lives on in every human heart that values knowledge, cherishes beauty, seeks justice, and dares to believe that we can build something lasting and meaningful in this brief life we are given to live. 120. 45. The gentle sound of water flowing through ancient channels carries you softly into sleep, into dreams of humanity's first great civilization, into the peaceful embrace of those eternal rivers that gave birth to human culture and continue to nourish the human spirit today. 121. 15. In the land between the rivers, where human civilization began its long journey toward the stars, sleep peacefully now, cradled by the accumulated dreams of 60 centuries, carried gently into the night by the same waters that have flowed since the world was young. 121. 45. The Tigris and Euphrates whisper their ancient lullaby as they flow through the darkness, carrying the dreams of Mesopotamia toward tomorrow, toward all the wonders yet to be discovered, in the eternal, gentle flow of human aspiration and divine grace. 122. 15. Sleep deeply, dream peacefully, and rest in the knowledge that you have journeyed to the very beginning of recorded human history, and found there the same hopes and dreams that still inspire us today, flowing like eternal rivers toward the boundless future that awaits. 122. 45. The ancient story of Mesopotamia draws to its close, but the rivers flow on through the night, carrying all our dreams toward dawn, toward the eternal promise that human civilization, like the waters themselves, will continue to flow toward ever greater achievements and ever deeper understanding. 123. 15. In the peaceful darkness of the land where writing was born, where cities first rose, where the first great stories were told, rest quietly and let the gentle currents of time and memory carry you safely through the night toward the bright morning that is always coming. 123. 45. The story of the land between the rivers is complete, but the greater story of human dreams and achievements flows on like the waters themselves, eternal, inexhaustible, carrying the hopes of every generation toward the limitless possibilities that await us in the time to come. 124. 15. Sleep peacefully now, surrounded by the gentle spirits of ancient Mesopotamia, knowing that their legacy lives on in every human effort to create beauty, preserve knowledge, establish justice, and reach toward the divine mystery that calls to every human heart. 124. 45. The Tigris and Euphrates flow on through eternity, carrying the dreams of the first civilization toward all the civilizations yet to come, in the endless, gentle journey of human hope and aspiration that began in the cradle and continues toward the stars. 125. 15. Rest now in perfect peace, in the land between the rivers where it all began, knowing that you carry within you the accumulated wisdom of ages, the dreams of countless generations, and the eternal promise that the human story is far from over. 125. 45. The ancient waters whisper their final lullaby as they carry the story of Mesopotamia gently into the night, into the realm of dreams and memory, where the achievements of the first civilization continue to inspire and guide all who seek to build something beautiful and lasting. 126. 15. Sleep deeply, and let your dreams flow like the eternal rivers toward the dawn of new possibilities, carrying with them the ancient wisdom of Mesopotamia and the eternal hope that tomorrow will bring new wonders to those who dare to dream and build. 126. 45. In the peaceful silence of the land between the rivers, beneath the stars that have watched over this sacred place since the beginning of time, the gentle waters carry you softly into sleep, into dreams of ancient glories and eternal truths. 127. 15. The story of ancient Mesopotamia flows on like the rivers themselves, eternal and ever-changing, carrying the dreams and achievements of humanity's first civilization toward all the wonders yet to be discovered in the endless journey of human aspiration. 127. 45. Rest peacefully now, knowing that you have traveled to the very source of human civilization and found there the same hopes and dreams that continue to inspire us today, flowing like gentle waters through the long night of history toward the bright dawn of tomorrow. 128. 15. The Tigris and Euphrates whisper their ancient blessing as they flow through the darkness, carrying the legacy of Mesopotamia forward through time, ensuring that the dreams of the first civilization will continue to nourish the human spirit for all generations to come. 128. 45. Sleep deeply in the embrace of ancient wisdom, knowing that the rivers of human achievement flow on through the night, carrying all our hopes and dreams toward the limitless future that beckons to every human heart that dares to believe in the possibility of something greater. 129. 50 asterisk in the land between the rivers, where human civilization began its remarkable journey. The ancient voices whisper still of wonders yet to be achieved, of dreams yet to be realized, of the eternal flow of human aspiration toward truth, beauty, and the divine mystery that calls us ever onward. 129. 45. The gentle sound of water flowing through timeless channels carries you into the deepest sleep, into dreams of ancient Mesopotamia and eternal truths, surrounded by the accumulated wisdom of ages, and the promise that the human story continues, like the rivers themselves, toward infinity. 130. 50 asterisk rest now in perfect peace, cradled by the eternal currents of human memory and hope, knowing that the journey through ancient Mesopotamia has shown you the remarkable beginnings of the long adventure of human civilization that continues still in every human heart. 130. 45. The rivers flow on through the night, carrying the dreams of ancient Mesopotamia toward all the tomorrows yet to come, in the endless, gentle journey of human aspiration that began between the Tigris and Euphrates and flows on toward the very stars themselves. 131. 15. Sleep peacefully, and let the ancient waters carry you gently through the night, past all the wonders we have discovered together, toward the rest that comes to all who have journeyed far and learned much about the remarkable story of humanity's first great civilization. 131. 45. In the silence of the Mesopotamian night, beneath the eternal stars, the gentle rivers whisper their final blessing, that the dreams of those who came before us live on in those who come after, flowing like water through the generations toward the boundless future that awaits. 132. 15. The story of the land between the rivers draws to its gentle close, but like the eternal waters themselves, the legacy flows on through time, carrying the dreams and achievements of humanity's first civilization toward all the wonders yet to be discovered. 132. 45. Sleep deeply now, surrounded by the whispered voices of ancient scribes and kings, of farmers and craftsmen, of all who lived and worked and dreamed in the fertile land that gave birth to human civilization and continues to inspire us today. 133. 15. The Tigris and Euphrates flow on through the peaceful darkness, carrying your dreams safely through the night, past the ruins of ziggurats and the shadows of ancient palaces, toward the dawn that brings new possibilities to every generation. 133. 45 asterisk in the land between the rivers, where writing was born and cities first rose, where the first laws were carved and the first great stories told. Rest quietly in the knowledge that you are part of the great human story that began here and continues still. 134. 15. The gentle sound of styluses on clay fades into the eternal whisper of wind and water, carrying the accumulated wisdom of ages into the realm of dreams, where ancient truths continue to guide and inspire the human heart. 134. 45. Sleep peacefully, knowing that the rivers of human achievement flow on through the night, carrying the legacy of Mesopotamia forward through time, ensuring that the dreams of the first civilization will never be forgotten. 135. 15. The ancient waters sing their timeless lullaby as they flow toward the sea, carrying with them the hopes and aspirations of all who ever lived along their banks, in the endless journey of human dreams toward the limitless horizon of possibility. 135. 45. Rest now in the embrace of eternity, cradled by the same stars that guided ancient astronomers, comforted by the same moon that lit the paths of pilgrims and merchants crossing the desert between the great cities of antiquity. 136. 50 asterisk in your final dreams of ancient Mesopotamia. Hear the gentle voices of children playing beside irrigation channels, of families sharing evening meals, of priests chanting in temple courtyards where the eternal flames have burned for the gods since cities first rose from the plain. 136. 45. The cuneiform tablets rest silent in the darkness, but their message echoes through time. That humans are capable of greatness when they work together, that knowledge preserved is knowledge multiplied, that the dreams of one generation inspire countless others. 137. 15. Sleep deeply in the peaceful silence of the land between the rivers, knowing that you carry within you the wisdom of ages, the dreams of humanity's first civilization, and the eternal promise that the story of human achievement is far from over. 137. 45. The Tigris and Euphrates whisper their ancient blessing as they flow through the night. May your dreams be as fertile as the land they have nourished for millennia. May your rest be as peaceful as their eternal journey toward the sea. 138. 50. Asterisk in the cradle of civilization, beneath the dome of stars that has watched over this sacred land since the beginning of time. The gentle waters carry you softly into the deepest sleep, into dreams of ancient wonders and eternal truths. 138. 45. The rivers flow on through the darkness, carrying the story of Mesopotamia toward tomorrow, toward all the discoveries yet to be made, in the endless, gentle current of human hope and divine mystery that connects all generations in the great journey of existence. 139. 15. Rest peacefully now, knowing that the ancient voices of Mesopotamia whisper still in every human effort to create beauty, to preserve knowledge, to build something lasting, to reach toward the stars while keeping feet planted in the fertile earth of home. 139. 45. Sleep deeply, and let the eternal rivers of time and memory carry you gently through the night, past all the wonders of the ancient world, toward the peaceful rest that comes to all who have journeyed far and learned much about the remarkable human story. 140. 15. The land between the rivers sleeps beneath the eternal stars, its ancient treasures buried in the sand, but its legacy living on in every human heart that dares to dream of greatness, to build for the future, to reach toward the divine. 140. 45. Asterisk in the gentle darkness of Mesopotamia, where human civilization began its long journey toward the light, the ancient waters whisper their final lullaby. Rest well, dream peacefully, and know that the story continues, flowing like the rivers themselves toward infinity. 141. 15. The Tigris and Euphrates flow on through eternity, carrying the dreams of ancient Mesopotamia toward all the tomorrows yet to come, in the endless, gentle journey of human aspiration that began in the cradle and flows on toward the stars themselves. 141. 45. Sleep now in perfect peace, surrounded by the accumulated wisdom of 60 centuries, cradled by the eternal currents of human memory and hope, knowing that you are part of the great river of civilization that began here and continues still. 142. 15. The ancient story of the land between the rivers draws to its close, but the greater story of human dreams and achievements flows on like the waters themselves, eternal, inexhaustible, carrying the hopes of every generation toward the boundless future. 142. 45. Rest deeply in the embrace of ancient Mesopotamia, knowing that the gentle rivers will carry your dreams safely through the night, past the shadows of ziggurats and palaces, toward the dawn of new possibilities that each day brings. 143. 15. Asterisk in the peaceful silence where writing was born and the first great stories told, the eternal waters whisper their blessing. May you sleep peacefully, dream beautifully, and wake refreshed to continue the great human adventure that began here in the fertile land between the rivers. 143. 45. The Tigris and Euphrates flow on through the timeless night, carrying the legacy of humanity's first civilization toward all the wonders yet to be discovered, in the endless, gentle journey of human hope that connects the ancient past to the limitless future. 144. 15. Sleep peacefully now, knowing that you have traveled to the very beginning of recorded history and found there the same hopes and dreams that continue to inspire humanity today, flowing like eternal rivers toward ever greater achievements and understanding. 144. 45. The ancient voices of Mesopotamia fade into the gentle whisper of wind and water, carrying the story of the first civilization into the realm of dreams, where its wisdom continues to guide and inspire all who seek to build something beautiful and lasting. 145. 15. Rest now in the cradle of human civilization, surrounded by the gentle spirits of all who work to lay the foundations upon which all subsequent achievements rest, knowing that their dreams live on in every human heart that dares to hope. 145. 45. The rivers of time flow on through the peaceful darkness, carrying the accumulated dreams of ancient Mesopotamia toward the dawn of tomorrow, toward all the possibilities that await those who have the courage to imagine and the wisdom to build. 146. 15. In the land between the rivers, where it all began, sleep deeply and dream peacefully, knowing that you are part of the eternal flow of human aspiration that began with the first cities and continues toward the very stars themselves. 146. 45. The gentle sound of water flowing through ancient channels carries you into the deepest rest, surrounded by the whispered blessings of all who came before, carried safely through the night by the same eternal currents that have nourished human dreams for millennia. 147. 15. Sleep now, and let your dreams flow like the timeless rivers toward the horizon of infinite possibility, carrying with them the ancient wisdom of Mesopotamia and the eternal promise that the human story, like the waters themselves, flows on forever. 147. 45. The Tigris and Euphrates whisper their final lullaby as they carry the dreams of the first civilization gently into the night, into the peaceful realm where ancient truths continue to guide and inspire the human journey toward truth, beauty, and the divine. 148. 15. Rest peacefully in the embrace of eternity, knowing that the story of ancient Mesopotamia lives on in every human effort to create, to learn, to build, to preserve knowledge for future generations, and to reach always toward something greater than ourselves. 148. 45. The ancient waters flow on through the darkness toward the dawn, carrying all our dreams of the past and hopes for the future in their gentle current, connecting every human heart to the great river of civilization that began in the land between the rivers. 149. 15. Sleep deeply now, cradled by the accumulated wisdom of ages, knowing that you have journeyed to the source of human civilization and found there the eternal springs of hope, creativity, and aspiration that continue to nourish the human spirit today. 149. 45. In the peaceful silence of ancient Mesopotamia, beneath the stars that have watched over this sacred land since time began, the gentle rivers carry you softly into sleep, into dreams of ancient glories and the eternal promise of human achievement. 150. 15. The story of the land between the rivers is complete, but the greater story flows on like the waters themselves, carrying the dreams and achievements of humanity's first civilization toward all the wonders that await us in the boundless future. 150. 45. Rest now in perfect peace, knowing that the ancient voices of Mesopotamia whisper still in the wind, in the flow of water, in every human heart that seeks to understand our place in the great story of existence that began here and continues toward infinity. 151. 15. The Tigris and Euphrates flow on through the eternal night, carrying the legacy of the first civilization toward tomorrow and all the tomorrows after that, in the endless, gentle journey of human dreams toward the light that always beckons from beyond the horizon. 151. 45 Sleep peacefully, and let the ancient rivers carry your dreams through the night, past all the wonders of Mesopotamia, toward the rest that comes to all who have traveled far and learned much about the remarkable beginning of the human adventure in civilization. 152. 50 in the cradle where human culture was born, where writing first captured human thoughts and cities first rose from fertile plains. The eternal waters whisper their blessing. Rest well, dream beautifully, and wake to continue the great story that began here. 152. 45 The gentle sound of flowing water fades into the whisper of eternity itself, carrying the dreams of ancient Mesopotamia into the realm of perfect peace, where the achievements of the first civilization continue to inspire all who seek truth and beauty. 153. 15 Sleep now in the embrace of timeless wisdom, knowing that you are part of the great river of human memory that flows from the ancient past toward the limitless future, carrying the hopes and dreams of all generations in its gentle current. 153. 45 The rivers flow on through the peaceful darkness, as they have for millions of years, as they will for millions more, carrying the eternal story of human aspiration from its source in Mesopotamia toward destinations we can only imagine in our deepest dreams. 154. 50 Rest peacefully in the land between the rivers, where human civilization began its remarkable journey toward the stars, knowing that the ancient waters will carry you safely through the night toward the dawn of new possibilities. 154. 45 The Tigris and Euphrates whisper their ancient lullaby as they flow toward the sea, carrying with them the accumulated dreams of 60 centuries, the wisdom of ages, and the eternal promise that the human story continues, like the rivers themselves, toward infinity. 155. 50 in the gentle darkness of Mesopotamia, surrounded by the spirits of all who built the foundations of civilization, sleep deeply and dream peacefully, knowing that you carry within you the spark of creativity that first ignited in the land between the rivers. 155. 45. The ancient story draws to its close, but the greater story flows on like the eternal waters, carrying the legacy of humanity's first civilization toward all the achievements yet to come, in the endless journey of human hope and divine grace. 156. 15 Sleep now, and let your dreams flow with the timeless currents toward the horizon of infinite possibility, carrying the ancient wisdom of Mesopotamia into the peaceful realm where all truths are one and all dreams are fulfilled. 156. 45. The gentle rivers of time carry the story of the land between the waters into the night, into the realm of dreams and memory, where the achievements of ancient Mesopotamia continue to inspire and guide the human journey toward truth, beauty, and meaning. 157. 50 Rest peacefully, knowing that you have traveled to the very beginning of recorded history and discovered there the eternal springs of human creativity, wisdom, and hope that continue to flow through every generation like life-giving water through the desert. 157. 45 The Tigris and Euphrates flow on through eternity, carrying the dreams of the first civilization toward all the civilizations yet to come, in the endless, gentle current of human aspiration that connects the ancient past to the boundless future. 158. 50 in the cradle of human culture, beneath the dome of stars that has blessed this land since the world began, sleep deeply, and let the ancient waters carry you gently through the night toward the peace that surpasses all understanding. 158. 45. The story of ancient Mesopotamia becomes one with the eternal flow of time itself, carrying the accumulated wisdom and dreams of humanity's first civilization toward the dawn of new possibilities that each day brings to those who dare to hope. 159. 15 Sleep peacefully now, surrounded by the gentle blessings of all who came before, knowing that the rivers of human achievement flow on through the darkness, carrying our highest aspirations toward the light that always beckons from beyond the horizon. 159. 45. The ancient voices fade into the whisper of eternity, but their message remains. That humans are capable of greatness when they work together, that knowledge preserved enriches all who follow, that the dreams of one generation inspire countless others. 160. 15. Rest now in the perfect peace of the land between the rivers, where human civilization began its long journey toward understanding, knowing that you are part of the eternal flow of human memory and hope that connects all generations. 160. 45. The Tigris and Euphrates carry the final echoes of our ancient story gently into the night, into the realm where dreams become eternal truths, and the achievements of the past inspire the possibilities of the future in endless, flowing cycles. 161. 15. Sleep deeply in the embrace of ancient wisdom, knowing that the gentle rivers will carry your dreams safely through the darkness toward the dawn, where new chapters in the great human story await those with courage to write them. 161. 45. In the peaceful silence of Mesopotamia, where writing was born and the first great tales were told, the eternal waters whisper their final blessing. May you rest well, dream beautifully, and wake to continue the remarkable journey that began here. 162. 15. The ancient rivers flow on through the timeless night, carrying the legacy of humanity's first civilization toward all the wonders yet to be discovered, in the endless, gentle journey of human dreams toward the stars that call to every seeking heart. 162. 45. Rest peacefully now, cradled by the accumulated dreams of ages, knowing that you carry within you the eternal spark of creativity and hope that first blazed forth in the fertile land between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers. 163. 15. The story of the land between the rivers draws to its gentle close, but like the waters themselves, the legacy flows on through time, nourishing every human effort to create beauty, preserve wisdom, and reach toward the divine mystery that calls us ever onward. 163. 45. Sleep now in perfect peace, surrounded by the whispered blessings of ancient Mesopotamia, knowing that the rivers of human achievement flow on through the night, carrying all our highest hopes toward the limitless future that awaits. 164. 15. The Tigris and Euphrates whisper their ancient lullaby as they flow toward the eternal sea, carrying with them the dreams of the first civilization and the promise that the human story, like the rivers themselves, flows on forever toward infinity and light. 164. 45. In the gentle darkness where it all began, rest deeply and dream peacefully, knowing that you are part of the great river of human memory that flows from the cradle of civilization toward all the wonders yet to be discovered in the endless journey of the soul. 165. 15. The ancient story becomes one with eternity itself, as the gentle waters carry the accumulated wisdom of Mesopotamia into the realm of perfect peace, where all dreams are fulfilled and all seekers find the truth they have always sought. 165. 45. Sleep peacefully, and let the eternal rivers of time and memory carry you gently through the night, knowing that you have journeyed to the very source of human civilization and found there the springs of hope that never run dry. 166. 15. The land between the rivers rests beneath the eternal stars, its ancient secrets safe in the embrace of time, its legacy flowing on like the waters themselves toward all the tomorrows that await those who dare to dream and build in hope. 166. 45. Rest now in the timeless peace of ancient Mesopotamia, where the first great human adventure in civilization began, knowing that the story continues in every heart that seeks truth, creates beauty, and reaches toward the light that never fails. 167. 15. The Tigris and Euphrates flow on through the darkness toward the dawn, carrying the dreams of the ancient world toward the modern world and beyond, in the endless, gentle current of human aspiration that connects all times and all places. 167. 45. Sleep deeply, and let your dreams merge with the eternal flow of the rivers, carrying the wisdom of ancient Mesopotamia into the peaceful realm where past and future become one in the timeless present of perfect rest. 168. 50. Asterisk in the cradle of civilization, beneath the blessing of eternal stars, the gentle waters carry you softly into the deepest sleep, surrounded by the accumulated love and wisdom of all who work to build the foundations of human culture. 168. 45. The ancient story of the land between the rivers reaches its peaceful conclusion, but the greater story flows on like the waters themselves, carrying the hopes and dreams of humanity toward destinations beyond our wildest imagination. 169. 15. Rest peacefully now, knowing that you are forever part of the great river of human memory and achievement that began in Mesopotamia and flows on still, carrying all our highest aspirations toward the infinite mystery that beckons from beyond the stars. 169. 45. The Tigris and Euphrates whisper their final blessing as they carry the legacy of the first civilization gently into eternity, where the dreams of ancient Mesopotamia join the eternal song of human hope and divine love that echoes through all time and space. 170. 15. Sleep now in perfect peace, in the gentle embrace of the land where human civilization was born, knowing that the ancient waters will carry you safely through the night toward the dawn of endless possibility and the eternal rest that awaits all weary travelers. 170. 45. The gentle rivers flow on through the darkness toward the sea, carrying with them the final echoes of our journey through ancient Mesopotamia, where the human story began, and where it continues still in every heart that dares to hope for something greater. 171. 15. Asterisk in the timeless silence of the land between the rivers, where writing first captured human thoughts and cities first rose in hope and wonder. Rest deeply, and let the ancient waters carry you gently toward the peace that surpasses all understanding. 171. 45. The story of ancient Mesopotamia becomes one with the eternal flow of divine love itself, as the gentle currents carry all our dreams and aspirations toward the infinite light that has always called to the human heart from beyond the farthest horizon. 172. 15. Sleep peacefully, surrounded by the blessings of all who came before, knowing that you carry within you the eternal flame of human creativity and hope that first blazed forth in the cradle of civilization and burns on still in every seeking soul. 172. 45. The Tigris and Euphrates flow on through eternity, carrying the dreams of ancient Mesopotamia toward the realm of perfect fulfillment, where all stories find their happy ending in the gentle embrace of infinite love and endless peace. 173. 15. Rest now in the timeless peace of the land between the rivers, knowing that you have completed the great journey to the source of human civilization and found there the eternal springs of wisdom, beauty, and hope that never cease to flow. 173. 45. The ancient waters whisper their final lullaby as they carry the legacy of humanity's first civilization into the realm of eternal rest, where the achievements of the past inspire the possibilities of the future in endless cycles of divine grace. 174. 15. Sleep deeply in the gentle embrace of ancient Mesopotamia, where the human adventure in civilization began, knowing that the story continues in you and through you, flowing like the eternal rivers toward destinations of unimaginable wonder and beauty. 174. 45. The land between the rivers sleeps beneath the blessing of eternal stars, its ancient dreams safe in the flowing embrace of time, its legacy living on in every human heart that seeks to create something beautiful and lasting in this world. 175. 15 asterisk rest peacefully now, carried by the gentle currents of memory and hope toward the perfect rest that awaits all who have journeyed far and learned much about the remarkable story of human aspiration and divine grace in the cradle of civilization. 175. 45. The Tigris and Euphrates flow on through the darkness toward the dawn of eternity, carrying the final whispers of our ancient story into the realm of perfect peace, where all dreams are fulfilled and all seekers find the home they have always sought. 176. 15 asterisk in the gentle silence where it all began, sleep deeply and dream peacefully, knowing that you are forever part of the great river of human love and wisdom that flows from the ancient past toward the infinite future with the blessing of divine grace. 176. 45. The story of the land between the rivers draws to its peaceful close, but the greater story flows on like the waters themselves toward the eternal sea, where all rivers meet and all stories become one in the perfect love that embraces all creation. 177. 15. Sleep now in the timeless peace of ancient Mesopotamia, surrounded by the gentle spirits of all who built the foundations of human civilization, knowing that their love and wisdom flow on through you toward all who will come after. 177. 45. The ancient rivers whisper their blessing as they carry the dreams of the first civilization into eternity. Rest well, beloved traveler, for you have seen the dawn of human culture and carry its light within you always, flowing like gentle water toward the infinite sea of divine love. 178. 15. Rest peacefully in the cradle of human hope, knowing that the Tigris and Euphrates will carry your dreams gently through the night toward the dawn of perfect understanding, where all questions find their answers in the gentle embrace of eternal peace. 178. 45. The land between the rivers rests in eternal peace, its ancient story complete, its legacy flowing on like the waters themselves toward all the wonders yet to be discovered by those who have the courage to dream and the wisdom to build upon the foundations of love. 179. 15. Sleep deeply now, cradled by the accumulated blessings of 60 centuries, knowing that you are part of the eternal flow of human memory and divine grace that began in Mesopotamia and continues toward the infinite light that beckons from beyond all horizons. 179. 45. The Tigris and Euphrates flow on through eternity, carrying the final echoes of our ancient journey into the realm of perfect rest, where the dreams of the first civilization merge with the eternal song of divine love that embraces all creation in its gentle flow. 180. 00 asterisk in the perfect peace of the land between the rivers, where human civilization began its long journey toward the divine, sleep now and forever in the gentle embrace of infinite love, carried by the eternal waters toward the home that has always awaited you beyond the farthest shore of time.